In this video, we're going to show you how to install the platforms that you need for Android development. Now, Android is available to you on a tremendous variety of devices, from smartphones to tablet computers to Google TV devices and so-called Android at home devices, which is a capability of Android for home automation that's just now starting to come into fruition. Now, because there are so many different devices that are out there and they're all running lots of different versions of Android, if you want to develop an app that's going to run on the widest variety of devices, you have to wind up targeting lower levels of the Android platform. And for that reason, you may actually want to install several different Android versions for development and testing purposes. Now, once you have those different versions installed, you can also set up Android virtual devices that you can use with the Android emulator to test your apps, and we're going to show you how to do that in the next video. So first, let's talk about how to configure the different platforms that you're going to use. And to do that, we can work right from the Eclipse IDE here. In the window menu, we'll select SDK, Android SDK Manager. Now, for those of you who might be working with a slightly earlier version of the tools, it used to be that the SDK and AVD Manager were one tool with several options within it. Now, as you can see here, as of the latest version of the Android Development Tools plugin, they are separate tools in the window manager. So I'm going to go ahead and load up the SDK Manager. And you can see here it's actually scanning the Android download site that we configured when we set up the Android Development Tools plugin. And this is the new SDK Manager, and you can see that we have lots of different options for things that we can download and install. We also have the ability to tell it that we only want to see updates and new stuff, that we also want to see installed stuff as well. We can even check off obsolete, and it will show us Android platforms that are not supposed to be used anymore. Now, I'm going to uncheck installed because we don't really care at this point about the SDK tools. We've already installed those. So I'm going to uncheck that, and you can see that that one option went away. By default, it's already pre-checked for me everything that has to do with Android 4.0. And in fact, Android 4.0 is the most up-to-date version of Android, but at the time of this recording, there's only a couple of devices that actually have Android 4 installed at this time. Android 4 is also called Ice Cream Sandwich, and it's the first version of Android that unifies the Android platform for both smartphone devices and tablet devices, and technically for any type of device on which you'll be able to develop an Android app, or for which you'll be able to develop an Android app. So you're probably going to want to install the 4.0 SDK tools and platform, but for the purpose of these live lessons videos, we actually were focused on several earlier versions of Android. In particular, we used Android 3.1, Android 3.0, Android 2.3.3, and Android 2.2 for the various apps that we'll be presenting in parts 1 and 2. Now, you probably will also want to download the 3.2 version as well. You can see that there's also earlier versions of Android that are shown here. If you intend to target devices that are running these earlier versions of Android, you will also want to download and install those different platforms. Now, if I scroll down a little bit here, you'll see that there's also some extras listed. We have the Android support package, which actually downloads some capabilities that make newer features available to earlier versions of the Android platform. We also have the Google AdMob Ads SDK package, which is for doing ad development in your Android apps so that you can use AdMob's ads. You have the two different Google Market packages for billing and licensing, which allow your apps to interact with the Android market. You have the Google USB driver package, which is only needed if you are on Windows, and of course I happen to be working on Windows, so I've installed that USB driver package, or selected to install it. And then there's this new one which I actually haven't seen before, called the Google Web Driver package as well. You're probably going to want these various extras, so I would go ahead and install them if in fact you really intend to do Android app development. Now, once you've selected all of those different options, you can hit the install button, which will allow you to install those different platforms. It will, as always, ask you to accept the license terms, and you can select each one of these items, check its license, and individually accept or reject them, or you can just check accept all and hit the install button, at which point it's going to start downloading and installing the various platforms. And it does take a while to download when you install as many as I have selected here. So at this point, what you may want to do is pause this video, and then as soon as it finishes downloading and installing, click play again on the video.